Hello there, fans and frenemies. Welcome back to another Draikinator video, and today I'm going to be talking about Neopets, which does still exist, believe it or not. The website is still going, and it probably shouldn't be because it's a complete disaster. If you've never used Neopets and you go to it now, there's no way you're going to be able to figure it out because the whole site is just like, it's a disaster. I have no other way to describe it. It's unusable. Like, you cannot use this website unless you're part of like the Neopets fan Discord and the Reddit, so that you have all of the different links and workarounds for broken site stuff that like fans have come up with, because it's just that bad. Like, literally it's unusable if you don't have the fan resources. But they are still selling, just pings of outfits for your Neopets, for real money. It's really just that bad. But I still love it. I have been playing Neopets since I was a very small child. My current account is from like, I don't know, 2004, something like that. But I know that I had an account before that. I just don't know what it was, and I don't know when I made it, because I know, like, when I've looked at it, I participated in plots, and like I've talked to my mom and she remembered me getting things from earlier before my account was made, like Neopet stuff. So I know I had an account before that. I just don't know when it was made, but I think I was probably playing since 2000, 2001. And if you don't know, my name is Nate, and my name actually comes from my Neopets username, which is Draikinator. Draikinator36 was my auto-generated Neopets username. It's the one I still use to this day. And, a Drake is a Neopet. So when people wouldn't call me Drake because that's like it's a thing. Because that's like, Draikinator's a little bit long and people would shorten my name. So, when people would shorten my name, like, as, friends later, because they knew not to call me Drake, because like I didn't really like, I'm not a Drake. That's a Neopet. They went the other way and they shortened it to Naters, and then eventually someone just shortened Naters to Nate. So that is where my name comes from. And I've been doing that since I was like 9. It still exists. And, originally you could only have 4 Neopets, but now things have become completely unhinged. You can have up to 16 slots on your account. They upgraded, so every free account can have 6 Neopets now, but you can also buy more slots for $5 a piece, so you can have up to 16, and if you have premium, you can have up to 20. You can also have 5 accounts, so you can have 4 extra accounts just to hold your Neopets. You can't have premium on anything but your main, so you can have 16 Neopets on 4 accounts and 20 on 1, so you can have, like, 86 Neopets or something like that now? It's completely unhinged. Like, it's gotten completely out of control. I have bought pet slots. Don't look at me. I have bought a lot. I bought like 30. I love Neopets. I love my Neopets. This site is a disaster. It shouldn't exist anymore, but it does, and I can't help myself. I have many, 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 many Neopets. I have a lot. A spotted loop, I think, is one of my favorites, but I also, like, Bories are my favorite species. I love Bories. My very oldest Neopet is a Bory. I made it the day I made this account, and I've had it ever since. So I've had that as long as I've had this account, which is like over 18 years. She's like 20 or something. It's really old, like, I know I talked about earlier, like, I have Pokemon that are like 19 that are like older than some of you, but I also definitely have Neopets that are older than some of y'all, which I think might even be funnier. So Neopets shouldn't exist, but it does. And it is, if you've never used Neopets, I'm going to assume a lot of you are pretty young and you never used it, but it's a virtual pet site. And basically, back in the day, we didn't have as much to do on the internet. Like, we didn't have apps, and we didn't have a lot of, like, games were hard to load and stuff like that. So the main way this game worked is you would adopt a Neopet, and it's just a PNG, it's just like a little drawing, and you could feed it, and you could play with it, and you could, most people, like, would role play with them, or they'd make up little stories and they'd draw them and stuff. It's your virtual pet. And they can't die or anything, so you don't even have to feed them. It doesn't matter. But yeah, so that was what we would do back in the day, is you had your 4 slots and you'd get your Neopets, and they would have the forums on Neopets, which is where people would talk. And then you had I used to role play a lot on the Neopets servers when I was like a very small child. Servers on the Neopets forums as a child. Um, and I like that was really where I got into like writing and where I made a lot of social connections. And that was like I don't like about the internet these days that there's no like kid centric spaces. Like I don't think kids should be on like TikTok and Twitter and stuff like with adults. Like it you guys shouldn't be using the same platforms. Like they really should like it's just not safe. I think we all know that. And I mean they're not catered towards, the interests of younger people and like how they communicate. And you can't make things for like children and adults all the time. Like a lot of these it's just not safe. So Neopets used to be catered towards children, and I mean technically, I guess it still is, but nobody who plays Neopets in 2022 is a child. Everybody's an adult. Um, Back in the day, it was heavily moderated, so it was a lot safer than a lot of sites today, which is probably why my parents liked it. So I was on it a lot, and the pets were really cute. Kind of like Pokemon, a lot of the appeal is how cute the animals are and collecting them and everything like that. I have a lot of merchandise. Had like I don't have an entire shelf of them behind me. They made it into stores and everything. You could go to Limited Two or Toys R Us in 2008. You could buy Neopets toys, which is, I mean, honestly, kind of crazy to think of now, looking at how far we have fallen. um, but yeah, it was great back in the day, and I have that fond nostalgia. And one of the main things you would go to the site for is to play Flash games. And I mean, I'm sure there's even some of you that are young enough that you never really even used Flash. Like I think Flash died in like what 2018, so only like 4 years ago. But it's not like a lot of Flash content was still on the web. Like people weren't making new Flash things for a while. A lot of things were dead by then. So but back in the day, that was like the only way you could go to girlsgogames.com or Barbie whatever or Neopets, and they had fun little games that you could play, and you could earn your Neopoints. And today, the thing is all of those games are still there, but because Flash doesn't work, they don't work. However, here's the secret that I'm sure no one has told you that's going to blow your mind. You can just turn Flash back on. You shouldn't. You should not do that. There's a reason that they killed Flash, and it's because it's an incredibly unsafe and dangerous application that's really exploitable, and it's easy for people to do hacky stuff with. But if, like anyone who plays Neopets in 2022, you're completely insane, you can just reinstall Flash on a modified browser, and you can go and play all the old games. They actually broke it recently when they changed the URLs of the site to be safer. So now you actually have to do increasingly more complicated workarounds. Like I can't even describe to you some of the more complicated stuff I have had to install and then set up on my computer so that I can continue to play Flash games in 2022 and 2023 coming, because I will not stop playing Neopets Flash games, because the thing is you can earn trophies from Flash games, and they're from a leaderboard. So if you're in like the top 20 at the end of the night, you can get a bronze trophy. If you're in the top 3, you can get a gold trophy. And the fewer people playing the games, the easier it is to get a high score, obviously. And when I was a child, there was no way I was ever going to get I was never going to get a trophy at anything, because there were just too many people playing games, and a lot of them were hackers, and a lot of them were just good. So I was never going to. But now that no one is playing, I have like over 100 trophies because I just obsessed with getting trophies. I don't know why. It's really fun. But the harder it becomes to play Flash games, like now that you have to install a bunch of crazy stuff, it gets easier and easier to get trophies. Like if no one is playing, because like the first like right after it broke, it was so easy because no one could get on. I was like one of 10 people who could even access the games that month. So I just like got a bunch of trophies just by submitting any score. It's a disaster. And that's the site now. Like it exists in that state where they have just not fixed the state of games still existing. There's like a couple, There's two apps. One of them is really bad. The other one is fine. And yeah, the site is just like virtually unusable. But for some reason, none of us will leave, and we keep dressing up our Neopets. And there's an entire black market for UC pets. If you've seen Xizzzy's video, which was great on the UC pet phenomenon, they're pets that weren't converted because they decided that you'd be able to dress up your pets, so they had to make new art for them so that they're all like standard, so they can all wear the same clothes. But some of the old art was like special, and so they let some people keep it if you had certain pets, and but you can't make any more of them. So they're a finite resource of pets that have special old art, and no more can be made. So people really, really want them, these UC unconverted pets with the special art. And so, like, you're obviously not supposed to trade Neopets for money, but people do. There's an entire black market where people sell Neopets for like, I, I mean, I've seen them go for over $100 for like individual pets. They can go for crazy money. People will drop hundreds of dollars on just buying black market Neopets and black market accounts and stuff. There's an entire like industry around it, and it is so deep and so dark and so utterly bizarre. And the deeper you get into Neopets, the weirder and more bizarre everything gets, and it just all culminates into like a disaster of there's like 10 people left working on staff. They're a skeleton crew of people just trying to keep the site from falling apart at the seams and kind of failing on a consistent basis, because it is falling apart on the seams. But despite it all, I still love Neopets and I still play it like every day. But God, mercy kill it. It has to go. I don't want it to go, but it has to go. It's time. Yeah.